Hello everyone, welcome to agricultural science class. I'm Oluwatomisin. I'll be teaching introduction to agriculture today. In this topic, we'll be treating the term definition, the meaning of agriculture, and the branches and importance of agriculture. Introduction to agriculture. What is the term definition of agriculture? The term definition, agriculture is derived from two Latin words, which is ager, which means feed, as in to eat, feed to eat, and cultura, which means cultivation. Hence, agriculture is feed, cultivation, to eat and to cultivate. You can't eat without cultivating. At least you'd have to see maybe a crop or a plant that you could see that you would before you can eat. That is what agriculture is. You cultivate, then you feed on what you cultivate. That means you eat on what you cultivate. You can't just see something and eat like that. No, that agriculture tells us how that particular feed, that particular food you want to eat, how it is being bring up, how it is being done, how this rice I want to eat, how did they make it, how did they plant it, how did they come about this particular feed I want to eat. That is what agriculture is all about. The meaning of agriculture. Agriculture is simply defined as the production of crop and animal for man use. Production of crop and animal. That is what agriculture is. In other words, agriculture is a deliberate effort made by man to till soil, to cultivate crop, and rear animals for food and other purposes. In this definition, I want to pick out 3 points for us to know that it's all about agriculture. Number 1 point is to till the soil. Tilling the soil. That is one thing agriculture does. You develop and prepare your soil. Number 2 point is cultivate crops. To cultivate, to grow, to nurture your crop. You till first, then you grow a crop, then you rear animals on that same crop. You know, our animals, they eat from what we plant. We plant, like the goats and sheep now, they feed on the cassava, peeled cassavas, they feed on some grasses. If we didn't till the soil, if we didn't prepare the soil and grow those plants, the animal won't be able to eat those things, to nurture themselves too. That is what agriculture is all about, and it is for our purpose. We humans, we eat these animals as our meat, eggs and milk are all gotten from the animals, and other purposes like our clothing, our hide and seek, it's all gotten from these animals. That's all about the meaning of agriculture. Don't forget, we talked about 3 key points in the meaning of agriculture: to till the soil, to grow crops, and to rear animals for food and other purposes. Now we're talking about the branches of agriculture. Agriculture has many branches. We have many branches of agriculture, but I picked the 6 key ones that are really important to us. The crop science, the agricultural engineering, we have the animal science, we have the plant science, we have the agricultural economics, and we have the agricultural education. What do we call crop science? And as a branch of agriculture, crop science deals with the crop protection. What do we mean crop protection? Crop protection in terms of the pests and diseases. There's not how a farmer would plant a particular crop that it won't have any pests or diseases. If you should notice our maize, and these diseases affect the production of our crops. The production. If you'd plant a maize, and normally by 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the maize is supposed to start growing. But if there's a fault, I say a pest or diseases on it, it won't grow. It won't give us a good quality. If a maize is supposed to be as big as this, but due to the pests and diseases, it might come out as small as this. That's what crop science is all about. Crop improvement is one of those things crop science is all about. Crop improvement in terms of breeding of new plant varieties. Breeding of new plant varieties. How do they breed new varieties? This breeding of new varieties comes about the many species of crops we have. Let's take beans as an example. We have very many species of beans. We have the white beans, we have the normal beans, and they have different names too. Like in Yorubas now, there are some beans called milk beans, there are some called oloyin, there are some called drum. That's just the varieties of beans we have, and that is not only for beans. In yam too, we have varieties of yam. We have the white yam, we have the water yam, we have the cocoa yam too. They are all varieties of yam, and these are what the crop science brings to us. Different things that we can use. For maize too, we have the normal maize like the guinea corn we eat, and we have the corns that they use for popcorns. They too, they are maize. That's maize too. That's diverse things we have, and that's what crop science does. They breed of new crops, breeding of new plant varieties, different varieties, and they are all for man use. Another branch of agriculture we want to talk about is agricultural engineering. Agricultural engineering. What do? They design and construct farm machines and farm buildings. Farm buildings and farm machines. What are the farm machineries we have? We have the tractors, we have the bulldozers, we have the plow, and we have the harvesters too. That is what agricultural engineering does. They construct them for our use. The building of these are farm buildings too. They are the one that does it. They come with the designs and they construct it, and it's for our use. Laying out of drainage and irrigation. Drainage and irrigation are just a means where our plants can be watered. You know, when there is no rainy dry season, this is what they use, and it is agricultural engineering that brings about this for us. Maintaining of our farm machines and equipment. The bulldozers I talked about, it is agricultural engineering that would maintain it for us. Everything can be done by the crop science. That is why it is a branch in agriculture. So everyone has their own special deals that they do. Crop science, agricultural engineering, crop science, crop protection, improvement. Agricultural engineering is just designing and constructing of the farm machines and farm buildings, laying out of drainage and irrigation, and maintaining the farm machines and equipment. That is what agricultural engineering does. Soil science as another branch of agriculture. Soil science. What do? They emphasize the need of maintaining a high level of fertility in the soil. High level of fertility in the soil. That is what they do. What they do is they make sure every of our soil is very fertile for a plant. If we want to grow a particular plant, let's say a maize, they have to check the pH of that soil to know if it is possible for us to use that soil to plant on or not. And there are ways they can improve that soil to make it possible to plant on it. Maize plants we plant maize on a loamy soil. So testing, and this is the work of soil science, they know the particular soil to use for a particular plant to be able to grow on effectively. And they did the study of the soil formation, the soil characteristics, and the soil management. How to manage a particular soil, not to overuse a particular soil. You can use this soil for a particular season and just let it rest and move to another soil, or you maintain that soil. That is what soil science does. Agricultural economics as another branch of agriculture. Agricultural economics deals with the managing of the farm resources, such as the land, the labor, and the capital. You know, in agriculture, we deal with land, we deal with labor, and we deal with capital. We can't cultivate on a bare floor. It's not possible. We have to have a land to cultivate on. And we need skills, and that is where the labor comes in. Labor, both the skilled and unskilled labor. The farm machines we are going to use, we have to have someone that will do it for us, which is where the labor comes in. Our capital, that's the main domain, which is our money. Without money, there is no plant. There is no even land without money. You can't just go anywhere and just take a land and use. No, we'd have to purchase that land. The labor that would work for us, we have to hire them. That is where our capital comes in. And agricultural economics help in keeping the farm records. Marketing of the farm produce are what agricultural economics does. The profit and loss account of the farm is done by the agricultural economics. The debit account, the credit account is always done by the agricultural economics. Agricultural economics, they deals with the management of the farm resources. They manage our farm resources. That is what agricultural economics does. We've talked about 4 branches of agriculture so far. We've talked about the crop science, which deals with the crop protection and crop environment. We talked about the agricultural engineering, which deals with the designing and construction of farm buildings, laying out of drainage and irrigation, and maintaining farm machineries. We also talked about the soil science, which deals with maintaining a high level of fertility in the soil. And we also talked about the agricultural economics, which deals with managing the farm resources, such as our land, our labor, and our capital. The next branches of agriculture we are talking about now is the animal science. Animal science, our animals. Animal science deals with the study of producing livestock, and some aspects where they work in the selection of animals, livestock management, control of pests and diseases, and breeding of animals. Selection of animals. Now, if we want to select animals for use, this is the work of animal science. The veterinary doctors, this is their work. They help us in selecting the good animals for a particular use. If I want to own my own cattle breeds, I would have to select the best ones, select the good ones that would help me, that would increase my yield, that would give me more input. I can't just come and pick maybe a one-leg animal. No, it won't improve my yield. That's what animal science does. They help in selecting the animals, the good ones, the ones that are healthy animals. Animal science does this. Livestock management. Our livestock, how do we manage them? How do we give them food? What are the necessary foods? What are the necessary intake of water are we meant to give them? Control of pests and diseases. Our animals have pests, they have diseases. Same as mammals, they too, they fall ill. They fall ill just like we humans too. How to control them? How to control their pests and diseases? The particular drugs for them to use at a particular time. Breeding of animals. Now in poultry production, we have a Noella. We have Noella now. No, before it is just layers and boilers. Breeding of animals helped us to get this Noella. They are the combination of both boilers and layers and Noellas. If breeding of animals, if animal science doesn't do this breeding of animals, There's no how we are going to get this, Noella. That is one of the work of an animal scientist. Agricultural education. Agricultural education they involves the occupation as well as non-farmers occupation. What they do is they train farmers, extension agents, workers. That is what they do. They educate the farmers on how to go about their crops, how to improve their yields, how to improve their academics, their education on a particular thing. You know, if a farmer now, if they want to do the animal science, if they want to do animal science, they would have to teach them, train them on how to go about it. In fishery, if you want to go into fishery, there are some things you have to know. There are some studies you have to go to, some lectures you are going to go to know what to use for your animals, to know what to do for your fish, to know the kind of feed you are going to give to them, to know the kind of water you give them. You know, the fish does with fresh waters. You know, you can't just pour any water like that into the ponds. No, that's what agricultural education do. They educate the farmers on what to do part time. Even if they want to go into collecting loans, they have to have ideas of what to do with them. If a farmer just go and collect a loan and doesn't have any idea of what to do with the money is just useless. But once he has the idea, he's educated enough to know what he's supposed to do. That is what agricultural education does. And the extension agents, they go to those farmers, those villages where you don't even think that people can be living there. They go to them, they work with them, they ask for the problems they have, and they are just a mouthpiece for the farmers. No, most farmers don't know how to express themselves well. But once an extension worker is there, they will be able to tell the extension workers what they need. And the extension workers will know how to deliver their speech to any government organization or no government organization. You know, we talked about the branches of agriculture so far. We mentioned 6 branches of agriculture. We'll go over it again. We talked about the crop science, which deals with crop protection and crop improvement. We talked about the agricultural engineering, which deals with the designing and constructions of farm machines and farm buildings, laying out of drainage and irrigation, maintaining farm machines and equipment. We also talked about the soil science. Soil science deals with deals with emphasis the needs for maintaining a high level of fertility in the soil. They study the soil formation, the soil characteristics, and the soil management. We also talk about the agricultural economics. Agricultural economics deals with the managing the farm resources, such as the land, the labor, and the capital, to achieve a desired level of production in agriculture, which is the farm management, the marketing of farm produce, the farm record keeping. We also talk about the animal science. The animal science deals with the study of producing livestock. And some important aspects in agricultural science are selection of animals, livestock management, controls of pests and diseases, breeding of new animals. We also talk about the agricultural education. Agricultural education involves the occupation of the farmers and non-farming occupations, and it involves the training of the farmers by the extension agents, the training and education of the specialists in various fields of agriculture, like how you train them on a special part of agriculture. Now we are going to our next topic, which is the importance of agriculture. Importance of agriculture. Agriculture is important in our daily life. The food we eat, our clothing, our shoes, our bags are all products of agriculture. What are the importance of agriculture? Number one important of agriculture is provision of food. We have to eat. We have to eat. That is the provision of food. Our maize, our rice, our yam, our meat, our eggs, our milk are all produce of agriculture. And they are all for man, our human consumption. It's either fresh or consumed or processed food. All our processed foods are works of agriculture. If agriculture didn't plant this maize, there's no how we would eat it. If they don't plant the rice, the yam, there's no how we would eat it. If they don't nurture these our animals, there's no how we can live on it. There's no how we can eat it. That's how fresh. And our vegetables, there are some vegetables that you have to eat fresh. That's work of agriculture. Their importance, provision of food. That's one major importance of agriculture, provision of food. Another importance of agriculture is provisions of materials for clothing. Our clothing materials are all gotten from cotton. Cotton is a plant. It's a plant, and you can just this our small cotton wool. Cotton wool is all gotten from this cotton as a plant. It is once the process is being processed into our clothes. We process them into the clothing materials, our threads, our shoes, our belts, our caps, our bags are all products of cotton, and it is derived from agriculture. Another importance of agriculture is employment, provision of employment. Agriculture and other agro-based industry provides employment opportunities. Now, our canned food, our tomato paste are all processed food, and their works of agriculture brings it as employment opportunities. Because these people that process this, fine, machines does it, but at least it brings room for more people to come in. Provisions of employment, this in this new age people are saying there's no job, but if it is a plant, you know how to grow, how to nurture. It is something. Agriculture brings employment to us in just this our cotton. Those that work in the textile industry, the process they go about are all employment. It brings about employment. Another importance of agriculture is source of foreign exchange. Through exports of agricultural produce, like we have the kola nuts, the granules, our palm kernel, our cotton. We export all these products, and the purchase, what we earn from all these goods can be used to improve agriculture, can be used for the improvement of agriculture. Our kola nuts now, this kola nuts, our granules, what is being exported to another country, what we earn from it, it can be used to improve agriculture, maybe in getting any new machineries, maybe in getting any machines that can be used to process our goods. There are a lot of this our textile industry now, the clothes we wear, the machines they use for it, most of it are not gotten in Nigeria, they are gotten in overseas. So if all the kola nuts we have, if it is the cotton we have that we export to another country and bringing it back, if we are coming back and we are bringing another machinery that can increase our yield, that can make our work faster, and that's another importance of agriculture, source of foreign exchange. We export a product, and in return we get another product. Another importance of agriculture is generation of income for farmers. No matter how small a farm is, it generates a little to the farmer. Even if it's the subsistence agriculture, if it's doing the one man business, a one-man farming system, it still generates income for the farmers. A farmer that grows either pineapple or orange tree that has an orange tree, growing that in your compound or anything, if you want to sell it out, you know you are getting something in return. Sales of some crops, sales of animals provides income from the farmers. I sell a product, I get something in return. That's just generation of income for farmers. So far we've mentioned some importance of agriculture. We mentioned the provisions of food, provisions of materials for clothing, employment opportunities, source of foreign exchange, generation of income for farmers, and provision of materials for shelter. Our roof, our products of agriculture, our doors, our windows, the floors, our furnitures like our bed frames, the chairs, the table, our cabinets are all gotten from agriculture. This is a tree here. Just this tree can bring about all these things I've mentioned. The bed, the cabinet, the furnitures are all products of agriculture. If these trees are not planted, how are we going to get these furnitures? It's not possible. That's why our forestries are all there's one time in school days we have this policy of planting a tree. You have to plant a tree, and if you don't plant a tree, these our furnitures can't come out, because, and even though on every tree you plant there's always something you get in return, and that's why all these trees, they just don't cut them anyhow. It's a government property, just a tree. You can just say, "Chime, like this tree is not useful yet." It is very, very useful. These are materials, our shelters are all gotten from this tree. The furnitures we use, our chairs, our tables, the bed, the cabinets are all products of agriculture. Another importance of agriculture is development of towns. The rural areas, how you can develop them to become a commercial area or start with agriculture. And those are the pipe-borne water we use, the social amenities, pipe-borne water, electricity, are all products of agriculture. The road, let's say there is a particular farm in an area. If the farmer wants to bring his goods to the city, he would need a means of transportation. And if the road is not good, how will the farmer transport his goods to the city? It's not possible. That is how agriculture brings the development of towns. There are some of our produce now that we need water. When there's no rain, we'd have to use our irrigation system to get water, and that's why the pipe-borne water come in. Our electricity, if you have a pipe-borne water, how will you like work on it? What will be the source? How will you bring about the water that will I'll bring about the water? That's the work of electricity. And we have some goods that are perishable, and we have a non-perishable goods. There are some goods that you have to keep. You have to store them. That's how the freezers come in. There are some goods that you have to keep. And our livestock, you can't be killing livestock every day. Our turkeys, our chickens, we have to store them, and those are works of electricity. Social amenities, brings about social amenities, development of towns. Good and walkable roads are one of the things development of town brings, and now one of the importance of agriculture. Another importance of agriculture is provisions of recreation and tourism. Recreation and tourism. That's establishment of game reserves. We have many games reserved. Many games reserved, and they are just form of tourism. You can just go there and see the animals. Like there's our zoos. The zoo we have too, they are all recreational and tourism. The games we serve are just different animals being there. We have the zebra, we have the Kilimanjaros, the lions, everything. And the horse riding too is just a form of recreational. It's just a provision of recreation, and tourism is just to just rest. You know, when you see a game reserve, you know, kids of nowadays are like animals. They like seeing animals, and where do they see all this? They can't just go anywhere to see it. You can't just be walking on the road and see lion. It's not possible. You have to go to a particular place before you can see that particular thing. That's what agricultural do. They provide recreations and tourism for us. Another importance of agriculture is provisions of markets for industrial goods. Industrial goods like our machineries, our chemicals, our fertilizers, our storage and processing facilities are all industrial goods. And if there is no market, there's no how you can sell this. The chemicals and fertilizers are mainly used by agriculture. Our processing machines, if you want to process our garri now, is being processed. Our let's say maize now, if you want to eat some food, the cornflakes are processed maize. There are many of our foods. The garri, you know, it has a different process, and there are machines they use for it. The foods we eat are being processed, and the storage facilities too, how we can store our produce. The vans we have, the cribs for maize are all storage facilities, and they are all provisions by industrial goods. Industrial goods, chemicals and fertilizers. You know, before we can grow a particular plant, we have to add fertilizers to it to make it to yield, to have a good quality of that produce. We have to add fertilizers and chemicals. In terms of when there's a pest and diseases, you have to add some chemicals to control them, and that is one of the things agriculture does. They provide market for those industrial goods. Another importance of agriculture is provisions of materials for industry. You know, agriculture provides market for industrial goods, and they also provide materials for industry. Materials like our tire industry depends on natural rubber for the production of tire and tubes for our vehicles. The tires we use for our vehicles are all products of agriculture. You can see this our rubber plant. The rubber is just a sap gotten from a particular tree, and it is used for our tires and tubes. And we also have the sugar industry to depend on agriculture for production of sugar, and that is from sugarcane. Sugarcane, we get our sugar from sugarcane. Just extract the liquid inside, and it's about the sugar. Those are one of the processed goods. The tire are one of our processed goods. Sugar are one of the processed goods. And we also have the tobacco industry. They depend on tobacco for the production of cigarettes. The cigarettes you see around are all products of agriculture. There's a tobacco plant, and that is where we got our cigarettes from. And there is our cocoa too. The cocoa, our beverages are all gotten from cocoa, and it's also a plant of agriculture. Provisions. Let's run the importance of agriculture again. I talked about the provision of food, the provisions of materials for clothing, employment opportunities. We talked about the source of foreign exchange, generation of incomes for farmers, provisions of materials for shelters. And we also talked about development of towns. We talked about the provisions of recreational and tourism and tourist centers. We talked about the provisions of markets for industrial goods, and we talked about the provisions for materials for industrial goods. Thank you.